Alright guys, so today we're going to go down a different path when it comes to audio. Now I know a lot of you are used to me covering true wireless earbuds, but a lot of you may not know that my main passion for audio really started with over-the-ear headphones. Like the first time I put on a really good pair of over-the-ear headphones, it kind of pushed me down this path to find the perfect pair of headphones. And immediately I realized there's not like one perfect pair, but there is a lot of pairs of headphones made for different types of things. In fact, there's also a lot of different brands, especially brands like you're not gonna find on the wall at Best Buy or Target or Walmart, that the only way you're gonna find them is by doing research and looking at reviews and again, digging deeper and deeper. So about a month or two ago, I tried out the Ultrasone Performance 880s on the channel, and I loved the sound signature that they had. I also liked the fact that they worked with Ultrasone's Bluetooth adapter, and so it led me to want to try out some other headphones from Ultrasone, just because I like that pair so much. And so the pair it led me to checking out today, which is the Ultrasone Signature DXPs, is a completely different kind of headphone. This is not a consumer style headphone that has that look. In fact, it just looks like any other studio pair of headphones out there. It looks a lot like the Audio-Technica M50s and the M40s. So from a design standpoint, it's not gonna be anything that stands out. But before we get into what all these can do and who they're intended for, I think we really need to start with the price, because I know a lot of people immediately shop with their wallet and their pocketbook. And so the price of these, they're not cheap. They come in at $500. So compared to most consumer headphones, that would be considered very expensive. But if you're somebody that's more into audiophile gear and you try out a bunch of different DAC amps and a bunch of different style of headphones, you'll know that $500 is kind of right in the middle. I mean, there's headphones that obviously get a lot more expensive, and there's some really good headphones that you can find for much cheaper. But this pair specifically was designed to be used for DJ use and sound engineers and people like working in a studio. So it's more a tool than it is just a consumer style product. But I can tell you these can definitely be used on a consumer level. Now, as far as any kind of technology in these, Ultrasone is using their S-Logic Plus. Now, this is not anything digital, but what this is a way that they've designed their drivers to be angled in a way where it's not going directly into your ear canal. And so what that does is, one, it cuts down on any kind of ear fatigue, especially if you're gonna be somebody that listens for longer periods of time, but it also allows them to have a much more spacious and kind of even like a 3D sound effect to them, which I really like, because you're using a closed back pair of headphones that really can resemble a pair of open back headphones. Now, as far as the overall design and build quality, like I said, it really does look like any other pair of studio headphones. The headband itself is very thick, and at first it was kind of uncomfortable. I could feel the weight on the top of my head, but after using them for a little while, it definitely breaks in and gets a lot more comfortable. But one thing I'm not a huge fan of are the ear pads. Now, these ear pads are a leatherette type material, and again, reminds me of the ear pads on the M50s, which in my opinion, I feel are too stiff. I don't like that they don't have a whole lot of give to them, and I really would have liked to have seen Ultrasone include a pair of velour pads in the box to at least give you two different options. So my immediate recommendation is to just go on Amazon and buy a more plush style ear pad, preferably one with memory foam. Now, it does change the sound signature of these, so because I was testing these and because I want to talk about the sound, I did keep the original ear pads on it, just so I can talk about them in a way that you would experience it. Now, as far as the rest of the design of the headphone, the sliding mechanisms and pretty much the whole build is plastic, but it's one of those plastics where you can twist and turn and bend these and not really have to worry that it's gonna snap or break. Now, as far as folding these down and swiveling the ear cups, they do collapse down to be pretty small. So if you did have a bag, you could throw it in it and not have to worry. But sadly, Ultrasone didn't include any kind of carrying pouch. And the only thing they did include was this really large hard case. Now, it definitely makes you feel like your headphones are protected, but it does kind of pull away from these feeling like you can just throw them in your backpack or purse or whatever and feel like you have a portable pair of headphones. And the way that you would fit the headphones into the carrying case is you actually have to swivel the ear cups down to get it to lay flat in the case. And one thing that I wish that Ultrasone also did differently was allow the ear cups to swivel both ways. The only way that they're intended to swivel is if you had them around your neck, they would swivel and face outward. Now, as far as anything else that they've included inside the box, it does come with 2 removable cables. One is a 4-foot cable that uses a normal 3.5mm connection, and the other one is a 10-foot cable that is a coiled cable that has a little bit more give, and it has the 1/4-inch plug-in on the other end. So if you're going to plug it into a board or a mixer or certain amps that use that plug-in, it's nice that it has that, but I wish that the 1/4-inch was an adapter. So if you wanted to take it off and use it on the 4-foot cable, you could. Obviously, a lot of people probably already have these adapters laying around, but again, I just like to have that versatility instead of just having only one way to use these. Now, as far as plugging the cables into the headphones, you do plug them in on the left ear cup. Now, moving over to talking about the sound, this is what surprised me the most. I kind of expected these to have like a flatter, more reference style sound, especially when I saw that these were for sound engineers and people in a studio. And to be honest, this is quite the opposite. What I got was a very fast headphone. This headphone has no issues with keeping up with anything that I listen to, and that's even bands like Dance Gavin Dance. If you're not familiar with them, they're a band that has many layers of guitars and many layers of vocals, and you have the drums and the bass, and there's a lot going on that some headphones can't keep up with. Sometimes it just sounds muddy or congested, and when you find the right pair of headphones that can almost separate each layer and also position it in a way that makes you feel like you're kind of like in the studio, that's when it becomes really fun to listen to music. Now, speaking of fun, that also kind of relates to the sound signature. These almost have a V-shaped sound signature in a way where the bass is fantastic. If you're a bass head, this pair definitely delivers. It picks up lower like almost the lowest frequencies with no issues. But luckily, the bass does not drown out your mids and the highs. I think the mids are placed perfectly where it's not too forward. The mids never get lost in the mix where you feel like the vocalist kind of takes a step back. If it's male or female vocals, if they pan it left to right, or even if the mix is intended to sound a little bit more distant, kind of like in an acoustic setting, this pair just picked that up extremely nicely. Now, if you are somebody that likes a brighter, almost harsh treble, this is the one area I would say I wanted maybe another notch or two when it came to the treble. Now, you can plug this in and EQ these handle EQing with no issues, but just plugging these straight into a laptop or a Chromebook or your phone or whatever, because these are capable of doing that, you don't want to carry around an amp because you don't have to. This is easily a pair that can be used in a bunch of different situations, and you don't really have to buy extra gear to get the most out of these. It's a loud headphone. It is in your face. It is boomy to the point where you feel like you have a subwoofer, but it is fast. So again, I could go across all genres and just have a great listening experience with each one. Now, I do want to come back to some of the cons that I have. One is the design. I feel like the design of these are pretty dated. It feels like a pair of headphones that's from the late 90s, early 2000s, which some people aren't going to care about. And really the only other thing kind of comes down to comfort. You do have to allow the headband a little bit of time to break in. And I, again, immediately say replace the ear pads. Now, it probably isn't going to bother a lot of people. I just don't like firm ear pads. I like to just have that little bit of memory foam and that cushion. But again, keep in mind that will also change the sound signature that these have. So overall, I could easily recommend these to anybody that listens to any genre of music. In fact, one thing that I did leave out is this is an excellent pair of headphones for gaming as well. Because of the spaciousness in the audio, it just kind of makes you feel more like you're in that environment. You can hear more subtle footsteps, and you can also tell where they're coming from and about how far away that they are. And if you're somebody that games, you know how important that is. But I still do want to say that $500 and the way that these are designed is just not going to be for everybody. I think their original intent for being used professionally kind of keeps these from being used by a lot of consumers, and that's fine. This is one of those pair of headphones that's just not for everybody. But guys, that's my video on the Ultrasone Signature DXPs. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Thank you so much for checking out all the other videos. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.